Decoded.
Welcome, everyone, to this Book Decoded podcast episode. Today, we're tackling a subject that, well, probably keeps quite a few of you thinking, maybe even up at night. Retirement.
Yeah.
We all have that picture, don't we? The travel, the freedom, just relaxing.
That's certainly the dream we've all been sold, yeah. But this book we're looking at, Jonathan Grimm's The Future Poor, it kind of throws a bucket of cold water on that, especially for, millions of middle-class Americans, the ones under 50 earning less than maybe $150K. It's a really stark warning.
Stark. Okay. And I understand the author, Grimm, he had this intense personal experience, losing his home in a wildfire.
That's right. He calls it a crash course in catastrophic loss. And he uses that to frame this potential even bigger crisis brewing in our retirement system.
Bigger than losing your home. Wow. So what's the absolute core message here?
Basically, that a huge chunk of that group we mentioned, middle class, under 50, they're, unintentionally heading towards poverty or near poverty in retirement. He actually labels them the future poor. The book digs into this massive gap between that old post-WWII retirement dream.
Right. The idea of retiring at 65.
Yeah, which he points out was a relatively new thing then, almost an entitled view, as he puts it. A huge gap between that and today's reality. Low savings, high expenses, less home ownership.
Entitled view. That's quite a way to put it. So how did we get here? What's driving this?
Grimm argues it's a kind of perfect storm, a mix of our worldview, economic pressures, and shifting social structures. We've basically moved to a system where funding maybe 20, 30 years after you stop working, that's largely on you, with, as he says, a bit of help from the government.
Okay, and that's where the math starts to look, well, frankly, a bit scary.
Yeah.
The book talks about the 4% rule, right?
Yeah, exactly, the safe withdrawal rate idea. But the surprising part is just how little income that often translates to. It's not what people might think. So you save $500,000, $500,000, that 4% rule, it gives you $20,000 a year.
$20,000, okay.
And $750,000 saved gets you maybe $30,000 a year, which for many places is still potentially below or very close to the poverty line.
And the examples he uses, they're pretty stark.
Yeah.
Patty earning $75K, needing like $1.8 million saved.
Yeah, just to maintain her income.
Yeah.
Which means she'd need to save an extra $20,000 a year on top of everything else.
Wow. And Jack, on $60K, needing $1.5 million, having to quadruple his savings. I mean, how realistic is that for most people?
Highlights the disconnect, doesn't it? And then you layer on the surprises about Social Security.
Ah, yes. The big one being...
It's just not designed to replace your working income, not even close.
Right. The book gives estimates, like an average benefit around $22,800 a year, maybe $28K for someone who earns $75K, perhaps $34K for a $100K earner, still way below their salary.
And here's something that shocks a lot of people. Up to 85% of your Social Security can actually be counted as taxable income.
85%. Okay. Didn't know it was that high.
Yeah. Plus, if you decide to work before your full retirement age, earning too much can actually reduce your benefits.
And we haven't even mentioned things like Medicare premiums, state taxes, property taxes. They all take a bite out of that benefit check.
Exactly.
So, bringing it back to the listener,
Yeah.
Why focus on this math? What's the point for you?
Well, the book makes it crystal clear. The standard approach, the path most people are on, it's just not working anymore for the majority. It doesn't add up.
But it's not all doom and gloom, is it? The book does talk about hope, about rethinking things.
Absolutely. It pivots strongly towards hope. It urges us to kind of channel our inner Yoda, or maybe Adam Grant from Think Again, to really rethink and unlearn these assertions we have. It examines those pillars of retirement from the 50s to the 80s. The economic ones, like pensions, the social ones, like family structures, community ties, cost of education, and shows how much they've changed.
And it connects this to bigger ideas, too, like well-being, social determinants of health.
Yes, exactly. It broadens the lens. Financial stability is crucial, obviously, but so is the whole social and community context. And from there, it asks these really powerful what-if questions.
Right.
Like, what if financial literacy was genuinely taught in schools? What if companies actually helped employees with financial training? What if Social Security wasn't just government, but we've found new ways to use pooled resources, maybe through families, communities.
Pooled resources beyond taxes and insurance premiums.
Yeah, things like exploring different kinds of life insurance, maybe permanent policies with cash value as a planning tool, or annuities. The book even mentions this interesting finding. People with guaranteed income from things like annuities often report being happier, less depressed in retirement.
Interesting. So it's not just about one big nest egg then.
Not at all. The insight is more like building a financial moneyball team. Using a diverse set of tools, each suited for a different situation or need, not just relying on one home run.
And what about work itself? Does the book address just not retiring in the traditional sense?
Oh, definitely. That's actually presented as maybe the most practical, readily available solution to the future poor problem, the not retirement vision.
Okay, so working longer.
Yes. It highlights that working past 65 is becoming much more common. And for many, it's not just about the money. Studies show older workers often find real satisfaction, social connection. It's often the cheapest way, frankly, to bridge that income gap.
So adaptation is the key word here. The old financial advice seems to be lagging behind.
Hugely. And the book really hammers this point. Time is the greatest variable for all things financial. Waiting makes everything harder. The longer you delay facing this new reality, the fewer options you have.
Which leads right into the call to action, doesn't it?
It does. An urgent one. Take a step today.
Yeah.
Go talk to a financial professional. The book suggests starting points, like maybe major banks or established life insurance companies. You don't have to sign up for anything right away.
Just start asking the questions. Get a real assessment based on this reality, not the old one.
Exactly. It's about taking control, starting that process now before, the storm really hits.
So Jonathan Grimm's The Future Poor. It sounds like a necessary wake-up call, but ultimately, there's a message of hope woven through it.
There really is. It argues we can adapt. We
Right.
can rethink the models, diversify our financial teams, act collectively. It kind of echoes that spirit, we can do it again, like when the original Social Security Act was created.
It's a challenge to look honestly at where we're headed and work towards something better, not just for the lucky few.
For the many, that's the core idea.
Okay, so here's a final thought to leave you with, building on the book's ideas. Think about that belief bubble. Grimm mentions the collective agreement that gives value to our paper money. What if? What if we applied that same kind of collective belief, that same concerted effort, not just to currency, but to actively redesigning our communities, our financial systems, to genuinely focus on ensuring well-being and security for everyone at all ages, not just, say, the top 1%? What role could you play starting right now in fostering that belief and action in your own life, your own circles? Something to really chew on.